How's everybody doing? Welcome
Good
to Breakfast
morning.
with the Brookses. We are live both on YouTube and on IG. If you're on IG, I just want you to thumb it up, heart it up, let us know that you're there, wave, whatever the emoji is that's appropriate. I appreciate you guys for jumping on with us. And for those of you guys who are joining us here by YouTube, I just want you guys to do me a favor if you can and you enjoy what it is that we're talking about today. I want you to do us a favor and subscribe to the page. I am Shelley. How you doing? Good to see you on IG.
Shorty.
It looks like Daniela is on
Good
IG. Good
morning.
to
Good
see you,
morning. Good
Daniela. I
morning.
appreciate it. Daniela, if you can on IG, do me a favor and put the crcoach.com in the chat on IG so that people can know how to follow us. Sheri, 2.5 years ago, I say 2.5, but it's actually almost 2.5. I can't believe it. We just celebrated 2 years in a row on our MAPS community
Right.
in January, and it's almost June.
Right.
So that would make 2.5 or whatever. So we created an online relationship academy called MAPS. And MAPS stands, it's an acronym. It stands for Marriages and Parenting Successfully. And the whole goal, babe, was to be able to show up in a community to help people grow their relationships on a very healthy level, very high functioning level. Which, quite honestly, guys, if we're dead real, a lot of people don't do relationships like that. So we're super excited. If you want to know more information about who we are and what we do and how we do what we do, I can't see the chats over there. So if we can make sure that, we got to either push it back a little bit. There we go. There we go. Good, 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 good. So if we can do that, guys, I want y'all to do me a favor. If you want to know more about that, do me a huge favor and go to www.thecrcoach.com. If you can put that in the chat, that'd be great.
Yep, that would be great. It's great to be with you guys this morning. As Glenn shared, several, well, we've actually been working in the lives of couples and parents for the past
Oh, God.
20 years. Since,
Yeah, easy.
well, you even before we got together.
Yeah, easy.
And just out of our own pain, out of our own past failed relationships, failed mistakes that we made parenting, we decided that we wanted to help other people.
Yep.
To be able to help other people not make the same mistakes that we made. Now, we're not perfect. We have our share of challenges, but we've been able to achieve some successes in our relationship. For those of you that don't know our story, I've been married 2 times before. This is my 3rd marriage. And I didn't get it right in the first 2. And Glenn has been married once before me.
Yep.
And we realized that there were some key things. When we came together, we both had taken time. We were working on ourselves. But we realized that there were some key things that were missing in both of our previous relationships. And that if we could obtain those things in this relationship, that we would be successful. And we just, this past January, just celebrated 20 years.
Yep. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Look, guys, we are on a year-long celebration, and now you got to scoot into the IG screen a little bit more, babe. But we are on a year-long celebration for 20 years in a row. And so if y'all hear us say 20 years in a row often this year, just know that
we celebrating all
we
year.
Celebrating all year. We like doing
this is a milestone.
Let me tell y'all something. And the reason why, and I'm allowing people to get into the room, and I'm excited. We're going to get this party started in a minute, guys. Good to see everybody. Nikkei, good to see you jumping in. Joe and Tish, good to see you guys. Missed y'all last week. Nikkei is in. Sidna, it's good to see you. Teresa. Teresa said, I have my paper and pen ready, so I can take some.
Knows. She will take some notes.
No, she says some good notes. Babe, there's different. Look, IG. I don't know if y'all understand. There's a difference between notes and good notes,
right?
And as some would say, copious notes, right? But I realized that, babe, we have been doing this for a minute, and when we say 20 years in a row, we know what it's like to get a hiccup. We know what it's like to have that block in the road, and every relationship has those. We got some couples in our MAPS coaching environment. They call them speed bumps. You know, anybody ever ride over a speed bump and you're like, and it jars you, it messes with your whole mind, especially if you didn't see it
right,
coming.
If you're not paying, if you're the passenger and you're not paying attention when
you're like, oh my God, what you
just run over?
What just happened? and the truth is that every relationship has speed bumps, and it has places or potholes in the road that really will mess you up if you're not careful. And if you're not careful, you won't recover from it.
Right. But today we're going to talk about the elephant in the room.
Yeah, we are going to deal with that elephant in the room. By show of hands, put a 1 in the chat if you have ever walked into the room and you felt like something wasn't right. something's
here.
off. I don't know what's going on.
There's this vibe.
You don't even know really
right.
what to call it.
Right,
Like
right.
some people may say, well, somebody's got an attitude or what.
Right.
But like particularly, and I'm just thinking about in relationships with your significant other, with your spouse, when something's off. Something ain't quite right. And you can't quite put your finger on. Put a 1 in the chat. IG, put a 1 in the chat. YouTube, put a 1 in the chat. If that's you, if you understand that, if that's someplace you've been before, you feel it, put a 1. I'm going to put 2 ones. 2 ones.
I've been there before.
2 ones. Did I say shout out to Custom Homes of Virginia?
Shout out to Custom Homes of Virginia.
I just looked at the the blackboard.
Yes, they've been graciously allowing us to broadcast live from from their model home here in the Hampton Roads area.
Yeah.
It's a lovely home here in
Suffolk, Virginia.
And they graciously have allowed us to use this as our set.
Yep, and so
we're broadcast live every Saturday.
Our house not this nice, at least not yet. At least not yet. We working on it. So shout out to Custom Homes of Virginia. If you're ever in this area and you want to find out about
a custom home,
built
from the ground,
from the ground up.
Yes, you get to pick and choose everything.
Every single thing, and so it's really, really nice. So if you guys go online. Just Google Custom Homes of Virginia and you will get their information. But let's get back to this content, babe. I see some ones in the chat. I see some ones sitting to put a string of ones,
right?
Bunch
of ones.
Right. And you be like, and Linwood is saying, what's going on? Let me say this. I think that having been married before, baby, I realize now that I had a challenge where my ex-wife was concerned, and we're friends today. But it wasn't always like that. There was a challenge where I knew I needed to love her, but I didn't know how.
Right.
Even when you and I got married, I knew it was my responsibility to love you, but I really didn't know how. I had not been taught what that looked like. And I think, unfortunately, most people think that when they come into a marriage, that this is just sort of standard. It's normal. Right. People know this. And so today we're going to talk about 2 key components as to why he really won't talk and why she is just not listening.
Right. And for myself personally, I know that there was a component that was missing for me when it came to men. Mm-hmm. I did not have any respect for men. Even though I grew up in a home with my father in the home.
Yep.
Because I had gone through my own personal traumas over the years dealing with men, I did not know how to respect a man. I didn't know how to respect the authority of a man. I didn't know how to respect the role of a man. And especially in the confines of them being my partner, them being my covering.
Yeah, that's a great
because
word.
I was strong, because I was independent, because I was handling my own business.
Yeah.
It was very difficult to be able to understand what true respect was and what type of respect my husband needed when we got married. And that was a challenge in the beginning. I always tell people, when we first got married, even before we got married, I couldn't even say the word submission.
Right.
I was like, I'm not submitting. Because to me, in my mind, what submission meant was you're going to be this little mealy-mouthed person that somebody's going to just be telling you what to do all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's not what it means.
Right.
That's so not what it means. But because I had that mindset from my culture, from, a lot of us, you grow up in a community, especially if you grow up and there's a lot of females in your family that maybe have not been married or have been divorced. It's this thing, you got to take care of yourself. You don't cower to no man. You don't give in to no man. And it plants seeds that thwart what real submission is.
That's good.
Because now you're looking at submission as a negative thing. Mm-hmm. And it's not. Mm-hmm. It's really not once you learn the balance of it.
Right. So I want to do 2 things. Number one, if you go ahead and grab the battery pack on that device, mm-hmm. and go ahead and click it on the side. On the side, it needs to be clicked right here, so it can start actually powering this device. So we should be fine. I don't know why it's not doing it, but we'll figure that out. And then secondly, what I want you guys to do is go ahead. Don't worry about it. Just leave it alone. It's cool. What I want to do is I'm going to read something for you guys. We have learned that there are 2 components when it comes to marriage, particularly if you are a believer. Mm-hmm. If your marriage is centered on the principles of Scripture, if your principles are centered in God, this may not apply if you don't have a marriage founded on biblical principles. This
right.
might not apply in the sense that you may not draw the connection. I actually think it still applies.
Right.
I really do.
Right.
This is not about what faith you are.
Right. I think these are principles
But
that apply regardless.
I think that the principles absolutely apply. We're going to talk to you guys a little bit about. So before we do that, every Sunday night we have in our MAPS community, we have 5 different group coaching environments. We have one for couples, which they meet on Tuesday nights at 7. We have one for parents. They meet Tuesday nights at 8:30. We have one for singles now, which meets every Thursday night at 7.
Right.
And we also have one for men and women.
Both that meet on Sunday evenings. The ladies meet Sundays at 5:30 and the men meet at 7 p.m. on Sundays.
So in our men's room, we have started a book. It's a book that we're going through as a group of men. It's called Love and Respect, right? Love and Respect. And one of the things, Sheri, that I found that as a man, many of us just did not have manhood modeled on a level that we could actually grab those principles and follow them all the way out. We didn't know anyone close enough. And if whatever modeling we got, it was something that we couldn't really grab. So for instance, it might be the traditional marriage on TV, some if it was the Huxtables or whatever the case may be, that always comes to my mind because, and particularly in the Black community, that was all we saw in terms of functional, marriages or what a high functioning family could look like. We just didn't have that in the natural. And I know that as a result of that, we lost. Men unilaterally across the board, we just began losing. And I think that really has everything to do with why it is that we can't now show up in our relationships, particularly with our wives, in a way that's really healthy.
Right.
So now if you say something to me and I have a hairpin trigger, I'm going to go off because that's what I was taught to do.
Right.
I'm going to go to anger because that's what I was taught to do. That was what was modeled for me. Or I may be, and I want y'all to hear this clearly, some men express their anger by shutting down and saying nothing. And we're going to go to why is it that he won't talk?
Right.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why is it that she won't listen. IG, I need y'all to hear this. Tori, thanks for jumping in the room. Good to see you. Shout out to you and Vard. Y'all are killing it. Shout out to the MAPS community. But in our group on Sunday nights, we're taking these brothers through a book that's literally teaching them how to drill down on some core principles that are going to help them rise to the occasion of the leader in them and be able to lead with love.
Right. And I think that one thing that hinders men from being able to love their wives, from being able to love women, is that because I think men, if you're a strong woman, I think oftentimes men look at us as being strong, and they don't realize that we really are sensitive. We really are, and ladies, don't take this the wrong way, we are the weaker vessel. We are to be handled with kid gloves in a lot of ways. And
handled with care, I think, too.
Right, with care. And I think that men, especially when they get in a relationship with a woman who is strong, that they match that instead of them caring for you. And so they're matching.
Match that, meaning the
man. Right. The man is going to match. So if I'm this strong, independent woman, when I come into this relationship, I'm coming across with a certain aura, like I got this, I'm good. I'm not, I'm not going to be super sensitive. I'm not, you ain't going to run me, you ain't going to rock me, but so much.
Right.
And so they're going to treat you the same way. Now, I'm not saying that you have to walk around like this little mealy mouse woman, or that you have to be this super sensitive person that cries at every drop of the dime. But I think that because we view each other, our view of each other is skewed based on society's, the way that it identifies us. Even for women, we look at men, okay, he's strong. Yes, he's supposed to be strong. He's supposed to be the head, but he's still a human. And there still is, you don't just talk to a person any kind of way and expect them not to feel it. Men have feelings too. Men are sensitive. They feel stuff. And oftentimes we as women will come across to men. I mean, I used to tell Glenn before we got together, I could castrate a man with my tongue. Because I would just say whatever, like it didn't matter to them. I could say, I would always blame it under, I'm just being direct. I'm just getting my point across. But did I have to say it that way? Did it have to have such a sharp tone to it? Did it have to be so just so blunt.
Yeah.
Just like, I just don't care,
right.
you know.
And I think that's something that you just said, and I want y'all to hear this word care really clearly, both on IG and on YouTube. Guys, listen to me. When I talk about care, I'm talking about something that really functions or sort of flows in an emotional realm.
It's a level of sensitivity.
It's a level of sensitivity. We were on our way over this morning to come to set up for the show, and we stopped to get some coffee. And there's a lady. She's homeless, and her name's Miss Annie. And she's there every morning. And I don't go past this place. I work from the house. I don't go past this place every day. But on Saturday mornings, we're coming to here. I will sometimes stop at this particular place to grab some coffee. Well, of course, she was here this time. And I realized that, Miss Annie likes fried chicken and she likes potato wedges from 7-Eleven. How do I know? Because I've purchased them for her on times past. But this morning, I remember the first time I met her, it was a cold, rainy morning, and I got out the car to get some gas, and it was chilly, that bone chilling. It wasn't really raining hard, but just misting. And as I walked over to the 7-Eleven, I saw this little lean-to at the building next to it with this bicycle sort of prop and this silhouette of looks like to be a woman at the corner of the store. And I just didn't think much of it. I went in and went out, came back out, pumped my gas. And then while I was at the pump, I turned back and I heard the voice of this person that was standing in that corner asking someone else for some change, right? And so I'm thinking, well, I ain't got no change. She certainly ain't talking to me, and I'm going to keep it moving. Well, I promise you, and I'm talking about care. I'm going somewhere with this. I need y'all to ride with me because this is going to set up the entire talk that we do today. When I talk about care, guys, I'm talking about this idea of being able to feel.
Right.
And oftentimes women get the impression that men don't feel.
Right.
And we just feel differently than you do.
And it looks different.
And it looks different, but we feel at 100%. And so I'm at this pump and I hear her voice. Now you have to understand that she's dressed in a parka and she's got a lot of droopy clothes on. So I wasn't sure at first whether it was a man or a woman, but hearing her talk, I could clearly tell that this was a woman. Well, at this particular point, I started feeling.
Right.
And I just was motivated at my core to just go ahead, finish pumping the gas, pull over, go buy this woman a cup of coffee. You don't have any cash on you, and get her something to eat. That's how I found out she likes fried chicken and potato wedges. So I went in. I said, well, ma'am, I went to her. I said, ma'am, I don't have any cash on me, but I'd be more than happy to buy you something to eat. I'm going somewhere with this, guys. I need y'all to hear this. I'm going somewhere with this. When I went to buy her a cup of coffee, she said, fine. She said, thank you so much. And I said, and you can certainly get something to eat as well. And so she walked a little bit like as to go to the coffee station. And then she came back. She said, you think I can have a little fried chicken? And y'all, my heart dropped out of my chest at this point.
Right.
IG, I need y'all to hear me. YouTube, I need y'all to hear me. My heart, the sensitive part of me, just dropped. And I said to myself, wow. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking she's been out here all night long. She had a little lean-to at the other building. She had her bike out there. And Glenn, she lives out here. So why not be sensitive? In my mindset, I hear my friend George Hawkins in my ear. He always says, forget the idea of helping world hunger. What about helping one?
Right.
I'm going somewhere with this, guys. I need y'all to ride with me.
Right.
I want to set this up because I think fundamentally this is where couples find themselves. Somehow, Sheri, we've gotten to the place that we've stopped caring.
Right. And the real problem with this is that oftentimes we care more. We will show more care for people outside of our home than we will for our spouse. So your spouse may be, coaching the kids' basketball team. They may be going to the homeless shelter, or they just are more caring. They'll go buy their coworker lunch, but they don't demonstrate that same level of care with their spouse.
1,000%.
Because the truth is we take each other for granted.
That's the truth.
And we don't know how to truly care for our spouses.
Yeah.
And it's because of these two reasons that we're going to talk about today.
So today, guys, and we've been talking about it the entire time. Some of y'all are waiting with notes. I want y'all to write down what your takeaways are and begin to post them in the comment section, because here's what I'd like to do. while we get into this content, I'm going to kind of disconnect from keeping up with you guys in the comments, but I'd like you guys to kind of engage with each
Right.
other so that you can kind of keep this conversation going. What I will do is after this is over,
We'll go
we
back and
certainly will
address
go
your
back and
questions.
address questions and things like this, particularly on YouTube, guys. I also want you guys to know if you get a moment and you're enjoying this content, please like the page. Please subscribe to the page here on YouTube because what we can't do once the broadcast shuts down, if you're not subscribed to the channel or you don't chat on the channel side of it as opposed to the live side of it, we can't engage you after the call. So
Right.
I want you guys to just kind of do that. And for my folks that are in the community on YouTube while we're here live, particularly if you're in the MAPS community, y'all do me a favor, engage them, give them the link of where they can connect with us so that they can find out more about how we rock and roll. So I want to read something for you guys, and it comes straight out of the Bible, Ephesians chapter 5, and many of you guys have heard this. Now, I'm not going to preach. This is just literally, I'm not going there.
Right.
I just want to set up a principle. Say in the chat, he's not preaching, it's just a principle. Put that in the chat. He's not preaching, it's just a principle. What's going on, KG? Good to see KG and Powers on IG. Good to see you, bro.
Good morning,
to see
good
you,
morning,
Ken.
good morning.
Glad that you're here. So Ephesians 5:22 says, wives, this is Paul talking. He says, wives, be subject to your own husbands as a service to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is head of the church, himself being Savior of the body. But as the church is subject to Christ, so also wives should be subject to their husbands in everything. And I want y'all to hear this, respecting both their position as protector and their responsibility to God as head of the house.
Mm-hmm.
He's not preaching.
Right.
He's going to give you a principle. I need to keep saying that over and over again because I don't know where your faith level is. I'm not trying. This ain't about that.
Right.
There's a principle here that if you hear me clearly, you'll get this. Let me keep going and then we're going to come back, babe.
Okay.
25 says, husbands, listen to this, guys. Love your wives, seek the highest good for her, and surround her with a caring, unselfish love.
Say that part again.
Husbands, love your wives, seek the highest good for her, and surround her with a caring, unselfish love. Mm-hmm. Just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself up for her, meaning the church, so that he might sanctify the church, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word of God, so that in turn he might present the church to himself in glorious splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing. Listen to me. But that she would be holy, set apart for God, and blameless. Verse 28, and we get into the good part. Listen. Even so, husbands should and are morally obligated to love their own wives as being, in a sense, their own bodies. Mm-hmm. He who loves his own wife also loves himself. For no one ever hated his own body, but instead he nourishes and protects and cherishes it, but as Christ does the church, just as Christ does for the church. Verse 31, for this reason, a man shall leave that. I want to skip over that part real quick. I want to go straight to verse 33.
Right.
However, each man among you, without exception, this is in the Amplified version. I want you to switch to NIV in a minute.
Okay.
Because I need y'all to hear this. And guys, I want y'all to put it in the chat.
Ride with us, y'all. Ride with us.
He's giving you a principle.
Right.
All my people tell I ain't signed up here to be going to church on Sunday. We're not in church.
Right. We're just
giving
pulling
you
out some principles.
I'm just pulling out a principle. Right. And I got to read this for context, guys, because some of y'all need some help. All right. So now it says this, however, each man among you, without exception, is to love his wife as his very own self, with behavior worthy of respect and esteem, always seeking the best for her with an attitude of loving kindness. Hear this, fellas. And the wife, I need y'all to hear this, ladies.
Right.
Must see to it that she respects and delights in her husband.
That she respects and delights in her husband.
That she respects and delights in her husband, that she notices him and prefers him and treats him with loving concern.
Treasuring him, honoring him, and holding him dear.
I want to stop right there. Mm-hmm. So here's what I want you guys to write in the chat. Here's the principles that I need you guys to walk away with. The reason why he won't talk. Mm-hmm. The reason why, listen to me carefully, guys, she won't listen is because, Ladies, you don't feel loved. And fellas,
You don't feel respected.
put that in the chat. Ladies, you don't feel loved. And fellas,
You don't feel respected. And that's because we don't know how.
I'm going to turn this light up because it's a little dark on YouTube. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, babe.
We don't know how to love and respect one another. I think we can be in love with each other. You can love a person, but you don't know how to love them. That's an act. There's a verb in loving a person. And oftentimes we don't know how to love a person. Loving a person is not just the physical act of making love.
100%.
Loving a person is not merely just even making the commitment to say that you're going to marry
100%.
the person. Loving a person is a daily act of honoring
That is good.
and cherishing that person daily. It's preferring that person daily. And when I say preferring, it's putting them, you're considering them in everything that you do. You're considering their feelings. You're considering how your actions will affect them. That's how you love a person. And as far as the respect part, as far as for men.
Yeah, no, the respect part, and I need you guys to hear this. There is a notion that one should love unconditionally. If you've ever heard that, give me a thumbs up or put yes in the chat. You've heard that before. Just say yes in the chat or put a thumbs up. There is this notion, there's this understanding that true love is love that loves unconditionally. And what that simply means is that that's love the verb. Right. Love the verb loves unconditionally. Love the verb loves with an action attached to it. Love the verb actually does stuff. It's tangible. It's something, and I don't have time. We can go to 1 Corinthians 13 and talk about what love is. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love, it does not envy. It does not boast. Love, I want you to say this in the chat. Love does things. Okay? Love does things. So when you think about the idea, guys, listen to me carefully. Again, he's not preaching. This is just a principle, and I need y'all to hear this. Y'all need to hear it, and please understand this, guys, that we have no problem embracing the concept of unconditional love. But here's where we falter because our culture does not teach this. It does not underscore this, not in the world, not even in the church. Not in many communities do you ever hear that you need to respect unconditionally. Mm-hmm. Ladies, I need y'all to hear me. And we're slowing down and we're kind of engaging you guys on a little bit more of a teaching and a methodical level. This is not the woo-woo session today. I ain't got my flip chart. I ain't getting all excited. I'm not rah-rahing today because I need y'all to hear this.
Right, because people need help in this area.
Babe, I have no problem embracing the concept that a parent should love their child unconditionally. Right. I have no problem embracing, even if I don't actually do it, right? I don't, let's just be dead real. Most of us don't love unconditionally.
Right.
As soon as the conditions are right, or should I say ripe?
Right.
Your conditions begin to come to the surface. You yelled at me, I ain't loving you today.
Right.
You called me fat, I'm going to call you fat back.
Right.
Like literally, you got fat back. Right?
You silly.
So the point is that we know that we should love unconditionally, but it's hard to do that. But we at least conceptually understand that concept.
Right. And for my believers, we always yes, the goal is to be able to love that agape type of love, that unconditional love. But in relationships, okay, so you can love your spouse unconditionally as a believer. That's your brother in Christ. That's your sister in Christ. But as their spouse, as that being, when you come out of that realm of looking at them as your brother or sister in Christ, when I'm looking at you as my spouse, most people do not love their spouse unconditionally.
Right.
Yes, I could say I love them with the love of Christ.
Right, but that's just a statement.
And I'm going to wish them well.
Right.
But do I really love them unconditionally in their role as my spouse? Mm-hmm. As them being the head or as them being my helpmate? Do I truly love them unconditionally? Am I willing to accept them as they are unconditionally and love them?
Fungus, toes, and all.
And it's difficult. It's very difficult to do. And I think that when there's a challenge with love and respect, it makes it even more difficult. Mm-hmm. When you find it hard to respect your spouse, and I hear women all the time, well, he's not worthy of respect. He hasn't earned my respect.
Ooh.
The scripture don't say nothing about him earning respect.
Not.
You're respecting the role that he's in. Just like you would respect a police officer, just like you respect your boss at work. I'm sure many of you that work in the workforce, your boss don't always earn your respect.
But you need to earn that paycheck.
But
so
you're going to treat them
no problem.
Right. You're going to treat them with a level of respect because they hold something of yours in their control. And so you feel like you can't cross a certain line with them, but we feel like we can cross that line with our spouse.
And here's the other part, babe. Not only do we feel like that, but we demonstrate
that
on a regular basis. We honestly show up, and the expectations in our relationships, guys, is so low that we have no problem disrespecting each other, quite frankly. This is not just men, but I need you guys to understand this, and we're going to unpack this over the next couple of weeks.
Right.
I do want to say this. My girl, Catherine Ford, says, my future husband on IG, whoever he may be, he needs to hear this. Laugh out loud. Hey, Catherine, here's what I love about IG. Here's what I love about Facebook. Here's what I love about YouTube, all social media, the internet in general.
It's going to be here forever.
It's going to be here. It may have a glitch here and there, but I don't think this technology is going anywhere. And here's what I also know. Print is permanent.
Right.
So when you write it down, I'm sure at some point he may see that.
Right.
And for those of you guys who, and the reason why I talked about our men's group, men, I want to encourage you. If you grew up in an environment where this wasn't demonstrated, if you grew up in an environment where you didn't see what unconditional love or unconditional respect looks like, if you grew up in an environment, even if your folks were there, even if your parents were there, I'm not saying that there had to be gross levels of trauma or anything like that, but if you know that there was some dysfunction going on and that people did one thing and they said another and they loved you unconditionally, I mean, they loved you conditionally, they made you feel some type of way, and you want to hook up with a group of brothers who will love you, who will speak truth to you, who will teach you, who don't mind being corrected by you, who don't mind correcting, and I know this is not every man. Right? I know this is not every man. Most men are not willing, listen to me carefully, guys, to submit themselves to other men because, quite frankly, our egos will not allow it. Does that make sense? But if you want that kind of group, I want you to go to the link in the chat on IG. It's in the bio. Well, maybe on IG, it might not be in the bio because that's this particular YouTube channel.
Right.
But
Just
I want you to go to the
crcoach.com.
Joseph, do me a favor on IG. Put that in the chat for him, brother. Shout out to our men's maps group. You're in here on IG. Put that in the chat for him, Joseph, so that they can find out how to subscribe to that group.
Right. You sign up for a discovery session. You'll get to chat with Glenn or me, and we'll see if you're fit, if we're fit for you. And if so, we'd like to invite you to come and join the group.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Same go for singles. There's a group for you. I appreciate that, Linwood. Thanks for putting that in the chat. Same for singles. Catherine, there's a group that we've created specifically for people who want to get married.
Right, who want to be prepared.
But you just want to be prepared. You're not trying to go through this. So do me a favor, put that in it. We're going to wrap up here in a few minutes, babe, but I do want to kind of drill down a little bit and unpack a few things for folks today. And I hope that you guys will join us next week. We'll talk about some more of this stuff next week. But the reason why I'm pushing men to join this group is because we're taking men through this book. And we're systematically, the principles that I'm sharing with you right now, they're not, they didn't originate with us.
No.
It's not something, I wish I wrote it. I just didn't. But
yeah,
I absolutely.
It was written in the book.
It was written in the book, right? And quite frankly, we're going through an actual study guide and we're doing some things relative around the subject of loving and respecting. And then at some point, very soon, we're going to invite our ladies in our group coaching environment to come on the call on our couples nights. And we may even do this in our singles nights. We may let the singles in that room for a couple of series if they want to get in it, to talk about what that might look like in the couples dynamic. Does that make sense? And so we're kind of challenging the men to lead.
Right.
We're challenging the men to get this information under their belt first for a few weeks. And then probably right around April, we're going to start this session, that sort of thing. What's your YouTube channel? I need to subscribe.
It's youtube.com/the CR coach. If somebody can put that in the feed on IG, appreciate it. It's youtube.com/the CR coach.
By the way, it's also on IG. Now that link is in the description and you can get to it that way. But yes, youtube.com/CR coach. So babe, let's drill down while we got these last few minutes. Let's talk about what this could look like. So we were talking about this idea that it ain't no problem to think I need to love you unconditionally. It ain't no problem to think you need to respect, but it is a problem for you to be able to think that you could actually respect me unconditionally.
Right.
Now, I want to tell you guys, in order to be able to pull that off, you're going to need some help.
Right.
That is not something easily done by no stretch of imagination. Please don't allow us to come across like this is pure, plain, and simple. This is hard.
Right. And respecting a person unconditionally doesn't mean that you don't have challenges. It doesn't mean that there aren't things that you question.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you don't get to voice your opinion.
Correct.
Just like with your supervisor, and I'm going to put it because this is the easiest example. Your supervisor at work may do some things that make you not respect them as a person. You may not respect them as a person, but you're not going to come at them unless you're just going straight postal, and you try to lose your job. You're not going to just come at them any kind of way. If you have a challenge, if there's something that you disagree with your supervisor, there's a way that you're going to approach them and that
Correct.
you're going to have that conversation.
Correct.
You're not going to just walk in their office and be like, you just stupid.
Right.
What the heck was that?
Right.
Well, how you going to make me do that? I don't do that.
Who does that?
Who does that? Nobody.
Right.
You're not. If you want your job, you're not going to approach your supervisor that way. You're going to go to them and be like, hey, can we have a conversation? I have a challenge with this. Can we talk about this?
Yep.
But we don't talk that way to our spouses. Ladies, we will come at our husbands like they some dude, some person off the street that you have no regard for, and you will talk to your husband in that manner like they don't mean anything because you're trying to get your point across, or you got a problem with something that they did, and you just come at them all raw like they don't have any feelings. And that is a demonstration of a lack of respect. You will say, I respect them, but the way that you talk to them does not demonstrate respect. And when a man feels disrespected, his walls go up. He becomes defensive. He's going to question everything because he feels disrespected. That is one of their number one need is physical affection. Their second need as men is to be respected. And when you trample over their respect, when you make a man feel like he's not respected, it's going to be like you got a pit bull in your house. Because he's going to be fighting everything because he feels disrespected.
It's funny that you say that, baby, and not funny, ha, but funny as in just ironic. When I feel disrespected, I want to fight.
Right.
Y'all need to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
I love Jesus. I love my wife. I love my kids. But if my children disrespect me,
there's something that rises up in you.
There's a feeling that rises up in me that wants to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my daughter. This is my son.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this feeling, fellas, y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all think I'm joking. Y'all think I'm playing. Y'all know we keep it real. Candace, good shout out to my sister Candace. You know, Can, that if you come at Norman wrong, if you come at Sean, your own son, wrong.
Right. You're going to get some pushback.
You're going to get some pushback that may look like something. Now, here's the problem. If you got a man that doesn't know how to handle his heat,
right,
he's going to go with that feeling.
Right.
Somebody's getting slapped. Somebody's getting pushed.
Right. Something. If
he's the kind of man that expresses his anger by shutting down, some of y'all ain't going to get conversation for weeks.
Right.
Some of y'all going to get a guy who will not talk to you. Listen to me carefully, ladies.
But go talk to somebody else.
But he will absolutely go talk to somebody else. Listen to me. I appreciate you riding with me on this one, Sheri.
Mm-hmm.
Men generally cheat because they're feeling some level of disrespect somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's not right. I've done it.
Right.
Not with Sheri, but in my first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
But the notion to step out is not generally, for most men, because I'm stepping to someone. Hear me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just stepping away from a situation that I don't want to be in no more.
Mm-hmm.
I want to step away from a situation that I'm feeling disrespected. Some of you guys, if we take it to children, ladies, have you ever had an argument with your son and he stepped out on you? Mm-hmm. Listen, he just left the conversation. Mm-hmm. His stepping out may not look like, obviously, physical adultery or cheating because y'all not married. That's right. Your son. That's like you. But he will step out.
Right.
He will check out.
Right.
He will stop talking to you. Some of you guys got sons that have just stopped talking to you.
Right. And I think the thing that we don't realize is when you disrespect him, when a man feels disrespected, he feels like he's not the man of his house. You have taken away, you have stripped him of his ability to be the man of the house. And so, like I talked about earlier, you know, I had the ability in my earlier years to be able to castrate a man with my tongue. My first 2 husbands, I did not treat them like men. I did not give them the respect that they were due as men. Had nothing to do with them being my husband, had nothing to do with what they were doing or what they weren't doing. I did not give them the respect that they were due as the man, as the head of our house, because I didn't know how to respect a man. And so I was strong and wrong. I can take care of myself. I don't need you. All this, that, and the other. All that. That's disrespectful. If this is a person that I've said that I'm committing to, that I'm going to be in a relationship with, I owe you a certain level of respect because I said I do.
I want to say this, and I got to jump in because, baby, that's so fire that you just said. I didn't give respect that was due him as a man.
Right.
I noticed that you didn't say I didn't give him the respect that he deserves.
No.
Let's just be dead real. Mm-mm. Most of us don't deserve to be loved unconditionally.
Right.
None of us deserve love.
Right.
Listen to me.
Right.
Guys, love is a choice.
Right.
Right? You can never earn someone's love.
Right. If they choose to love you.
They choose to love you. If you can earn it, then you can lose it.
Right.
I need y'all to hear that.
Right. Your children did not earn your love.
They don't have to earn your love.
They came into this world and you chose to love them. Just like there are some parents that choose not to love their children. They give their children up or they just abuse their children because they choose not to love them.
And I want to say this because I do have some parents and we're huge proponents of adoption. They choose to love their children by giving them up because they choose not to be selfish, right? And, you know, do whatever else it takes in order to get rid of that child. So when you say give it up, in other words, I know parents who have chosen to love themselves more than their child.
Right.
And the way that looks is that now I will give myself to my own selfish desires. Mm-hmm. And if my selfish desires mean I want to run the street all night long and party and do what I want to do, or I want to work 14 jobs trying to provide, but the children are getting no attention, love, time, none of that. You're choosing how you sort of display or how you disseminate your love. I want to go to this part though, babe. The same likewise is respect as a choice.
Right.
I'm going to give you guys a very quick example. When I was in the Army, and I never will forget having a squad leader, those my military service members, y'all would understand this. Sheri was in the Marines. My squad leader, as far as I was concerned, hated me, didn't like me, and did not want the best for me. He was on me every time he could get it. I couldn't catch a break. And I never will forget understanding how, with this guy, to be able to work and respect a man, but not like him, nor care about him, or care for him, from an endearing standpoint. Like we weren't friends. And the reason why is because I quickly learned, and I don't have time to unpack that completely, but I learned that it wasn't that he didn't like me. It wasn't that he was on me because of any external reason. As a combat engineer, my job in war is to do some very dangerous things, right? His job was to train us so that we could go in, do our jobs properly, and come home.
Right.
I need y'all to hear this. So there was a level of seriousness and not playing, and we called them lifers back then. This guy was serious about the military. He was serious about his job. And it dawned on me during a training exercise that Sergeant Hanson don't dislike me. Sergeant Hanson dislikes the fact that I don't take this job seriously enough to one, do my job, but two, be able to assist my colleagues or my comrades or my fellow service members, and then for all of us to be able to get home.
Right, right.
Does everybody understand that? And so as a result of that, he stayed on my back. Like he rode me. And it dawned on me about 2.5 years into that 3-year bid on that first enlistment, Sheri, I just couldn't quit. There was no way I could quit. I couldn't divorce him because that's called going AWOL. Right. That means you could go to jail if you left the military or if you just didn't show up to work. So that's when God started speaking to my heart and says, listen, I need you to learn how to respect a person for what they bring to the table and for their position.
Right, right.
If you can learn to respect the position,
right, you
can get around being able to right away respect the man himself or herself.
Right.
Does that make sense? And I know that this is a foreign concept to many, right? Because most people are like, I ain't gonna be disrespected. You ain't about to call me outside my name no more. There's levels to this.
Right, right.
And I need y'all to hear that. So we're gonna unpack over the next couple of weeks kind of what it looks like, actual principles that you can apply, things that you can do. We can't get but so deep because obviously this is a one-sided conversation, save what we see in the chats, right? If you want a two-sided conversation, you want to be able to rock with us and like, no, let me explain to y'all the exact scenario because y'all don't get it. Maybe we don't. Go to the link in the description on YouTube. Go to the link in the description or in the bio on IG. Go to the link in the comment sections, www.thecrcoach.com. Sign up for a discovery session, and we've got 5 different group coaching environments where you get to come in and you get to share. You get to talk about what it is that you feel. But that's what respect looks like, babe. I know I've done a lot of talking.
No, you're good. I mean, I think this is good, and I think that a lot of people need to hear this. I mean, I think that we have not learned the art of respecting each other. We have not learned, and we're not leaving the men out of this. And men have not learned how to love women. I think that this is just something we're not taught. Unfortunately, nobody tells you that, you know, that you're to respect the person.
And
that
then
you're
they don't tell you how.
Right. So
you
hear the term.
You hear it, but don't nobody
really
tell
know
you,
how to
okay,
do it.
Step 1, this is what you do.
Right.
Step 2, when they do this, this is what you do. Right. Step 3, look, is to repeat step 2. Like, nobody talks like that. And that's what we do in our coaching environment.
Right. And I think that, like I said, in when I use the example of the work relationship, people kind of pretty much, you pick that up as you go along in your career. As you're working, you see that that's a requirement for you to keep a job.
Yep.
I think we don't attach a value to our relationships like we do, because there's an actual physical, tangible value to you.
That is good, babe.
To you disrespecting your boss, you'll lose your job, you lose your income, you lose a lot. There's a lot of stuff that you can tangibly see. I'm going to lose this. But in relationships, we don't look at it that way. And I think we have to change our perspective and realize, what am I going to lose if I continue to disrespect this person? What am I going to lose if I don't learn how to love this person properly? What is this really worth to me? Yeah,
it's funny that you say value. And guys, we got to go because I got a master class. We got to teach at 9 o'clock. Shout out to the MAPS master class students who are in this room. Some of you guys. IG, thanks for jumping in.
Yes.
Latanya, thank you for jumping in. Coop 680, I think it is. Y'all be killing me with y'all's names. I be wanting to know what your
Who
actual
are
names
you?
like. What
Who
is
are
your
you
real
really?
Government name.
Give us your name
so
and where
I
you're from.
Just greet you a little bit more personally than what you got on the thing. But it's all love. It's all love. Guys, listen to me carefully. You do not have to do life in a vacuum. You do not have to do relationships in a vacuum. You do not have to figure this out on your own. I always say we all need some help. And the reason why is because we do. If you are trying to get to any place of significance on any level in any relationship, here's what I'm going to promise you. You cannot do that by yourself. You just can't. It takes work. And the reason why many of us are losing is because we're doing life by ourselves. This is us for and no more mentality. It's the, what else do we say? We say,
what goes on in this house, stay in this house.
What goes on this house, stay. Don't be telling my
business.
Don't be telling my
business.
Not business, but business.
Business.
right? Why you
And
gotta throw?
y'all not telling nobody business y'all in there going through, because y'all not sharing with nobody. You're not seeking any wisdom. You're not seeking
100%.
any guidance to help you get through. You're trying to just figure it out on your own. You don't have to figure this out on your own.
Yep.
There are people out here that can help you, that have been there and done that and have figured out how to avoid some of these pitfalls. Let me say, every marriage is going to have its challenges.
Everyone.
Every marriage is going to have its pitfalls. Every marriage is going to have speed bumps along the way. Why sit and go through that stuff by yourself when you can connect with somebody that's been able to get through those things and figured out how to get through them? Yes, everybody's relationship is different. Yes, everybody's family dynamic is different. But there are some basic principles that apply in every relationship.
100%.
And if you learn how to master those principles, if you learn how to master those particular areas in your relationships, you can get through anything. I am a firm believer that there is very little outside of physical abuse, severe mental and emotional abuse,
right?
You can get past anything in a relationship if you work at it.
Yep.
You know, it's possible. You can get past fidelity in a relationship,
right,
if you work at it, if you both want to.
Yep.
And there are some things that it takes. You both have to want it.
Yep.
You know, you both have to be willing to do the work. But too many people are quitting and giving up way too soon.
Yeah.
Before they put in the work.
Babe, I'm laughing because I saw that that's Jamitha. Hey Jamitha, I miss you too, girl. You need to come on up in this community and get with your peoples. We miss you. Need that foundation, Strickland. I think that's Dave. Strickland Strong. I think that might be Dave. How's your wife, man? If I got the right person.
You all
I know it. It's okay, baby. Okay. I didn't digress. I'm sorry.
I was having a moment.
That was a deep situation.
Yes,
I just trampled like I just didn't even care. I'm
you
sorry.
were not caring.
I was not being very respectful.
No, you weren't.
I apologize.
Okay, I forgive you.
It wasn't intentional.
Okay. That's okay.
Okay.
Your flamingo came out. It's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. But guys, seriously, you know, I am a firm believer that it's not much that you can't get past in a relationship if you're both willing to work on it.
Yep.
And you know, I am not a proponent. Neither one of us are a proponent. If you're in a physically abusive relationship, if you're in a mentally, emotionally abusive relationship, get help.
Yep.
If it's a physically abusive relationship, reach out to somebody, get out of the relationship. I do not subject to anybody staying in a physically abusive relationship. You know, if it's emotional and mental, seek counseling, seek some guidance on how to be able to navigate through that. And if that even becomes to the point that you're not seeing signs of change, if the other person is not willing, don't subject yourself to that. I don't believe that God is saying for anybody to stay in an abusive relationship.
A doormat. No, We're not advocating that at all, guys. Listen, guys, we've been on for a minute. We've got to jump off this call. Listen again. If you want to become Jake Strickland, okay. Oh, I know who you. Okay, Jake Strickland. I think I know you on IG now, Jake. Good to see you, brother. I just switched gears. I think you're a part of the BU family. I think, but I do also think that you're in the military, and you got a powerful IG page. I think I know who you are. Good to have you, man. Thanks so much for jumping in. I'm a little off course because I'm excited, and I've had way too much coffee this morning. So y'all have to bear with me. For those of you all who are more serious about it, say, how is it that he just jumps from page to page to page? That is who I am, and I thank God that this one has put up with this for 20 plus years. Guys, listen, if you want what we got, just do what we did. I'm going to say it again. We're not super special. Nope. We're not super spooky. We're not super favored. We're not super brilliant. We're not super any of those things.
We just did the work.
We just did the work. And if you want what we got, you can have it. You just got to do what we did.
Right.
And we're teaching and training people that all the time in our MAPS group coaching environment. And so do me a favor, go to www.thecrcoach.com. They put it in the chat on IG. They got it in the chat here. Wilma, thank you so much for jumping in. I see you, Wilma. Daniela, thank you so much. Control the flamingo, Sheri. Control.
I'm trying to wrangle him in.
She gonna clip my wings. She gonna clip my wings. Listen, speaking of the flamingo, we got to jump into our next group, y'all. Love you guys so much. Tell somebody, if you're new to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys next week. At the end of the day, guys, we like to tell them we all need some help. Y'all
have a great Saturday.
We'll talk soon.
All right, IG.
Thank you, guys.